Welcome to JackHorny.com show.
I'm just doing another little talk thing. You probably hear some rattling in the background. At least I've got the dog leads in the hand. I'm just walking through some woods at the moment with the dogs. So the sound won't be brilliant. It's probably quite bad, in fact. I'll try and do some properly at home so I've got a decent mic and stuff. Anyway, it's Thursday, June. I think it's 13th or something. Anyway, so today I just thought, I've seen in the news about the BBC and this Joe Brand thing, so I thought I'd call this how the BBC have basically messed up. Now, first off, this week they announced they're going to drop the, no, not drop it, but they're going to charge pensioners, those over 75 in the UK, the licence fee again. Apparently this is over 3 million pensioners, so 3 million times 100 and whatever the licence fee is a serious amount of money, an absolute serious amount. So you can see why they're doing it, to pay for the garbage they put out. Now I don't have a TV licence because I don't have a TV. I mean, when I phoned up, they accused me of having one, but there's no point me having a TV because I'm basically spending my day doing shoots or editing content or out with the dogs walking, so I ain't going to be in to watch it. But I did have a look to see what was on the BBC via the Radio Times website. It's just junk. I've looked for the whole week. I don't think there's anything I'd watch. It's all repeats, game shows. Some seem to be clones of ITV shows. And I know they're paying some of the celebs million. I mean, it's just stupid. It's just if you got friends in the BBC, you're laughing by the sounds of it. Now, in truth, I don't see why you have to pay a licence. Well, it's ridiculous. It's a bit communist. It keeps the left wing happy for some reason. I was listening on the radio, someone phoned up, I think she actually worked for the BBAR, had some connection, and she was trying to justify it by saying it's only X amount a week, and for that you get some marvellous programmes, and she quoted some of the programmes which quite honestly I wouldn't watch. They sounded as dull, and when I've seen the reviews they're not that special. Now when you consider that, these days I've got a choice, I can choose what channels to take up. And I don't see why they can't either put adverts on, which would be simple. I mean, who cares? They're not going to spoil anything. Does anyone even watch it? And I say that because a lot of people I know don't actually watch the BBC. I know the right wing will say they don't watch it because it's left wing, but I've got left wing friends who just don't find it of interest. So I don't know the appeal to. Hang on. Shush! Shush! They're all friendly, they just think you've got a dog with you. Every time they see someone they think they've got a dog. No, there's no doggies there to chase. Come on. Run around a bit and wear yourself out. 3, 2, 1. So, just walk past somebody then. I'm walking through the woods. I'll edit the bits out when I'm walking past someone. Unless I want to be involved, which I doubt. By the way, I broke the clip on this mic because I was trying to turn it around so I could put it on my coat so it wouldn't be banging, and it just snapped off. So I've sort of hung it over a hook, so I don't know if that might actually sound better, or it might sound worse. So anyway, I mean, for me, if I was the BBC, I'd just Netflix it, do their own version, because although I think most of the programmes they make are a waste of time these days, if they do make any, every time they announce a programme, it seems to be by an independent firm, so I don't even know if they even make any shows these days. Anyway, if it were me, I'd just use a whole back catalogue, and I'd probably pay for that myself. In fact, I would. I'd love to watch the old Doctor Who's before they did the modern, boring, PC, dull, garbage, junk, which is as dull as dishwasher. And why anyone watches it, I have no idea. I mean, incredibly dull. Made for American market, clearly. Tom Baker was brilliant in it. Those are the classic ones. Now, I watched it once at my friend's. I mean, when I say once, I just watched it a few minutes. It was just awful. So anyway, you could then charge you could put Netflix and do programs in different countries. I bet they'd make far more money than using the licence fee. But they're too lazy, and when you're lazy like that, and you've got easy money, why make anything decent? You don't need to. You just charge what you want, and people don't pay it. I think they go to prison. Well, by the way, if anyone from the TV licence comes to your door, don't let them in, even if you pay it or don't. I would never let them in. They don't, unless I'm wrong, and I don't think they've changed the rules, they have no power to come in. So just don't let them in. I mean, if you don't have a TV licence and you got it in the living room, and then you can walk past your living room window. So I've known some people a bit thick and do that. Yeah, you're going to get into slap. It's on display. But if you don't have it, it's visible. I won't ever let anyone in. No, and don't listen to them. Just don't let them under the circumstance. Ages ago, one even had the cheek to come to my house, and I ignored him. And I looked out the window, and he drove off. Well, I think it was him anyway, in a Mercedes. So they must be on good money. I mean, it might not have been him, but it looked like he went from my house to a Merc, and the Merc definitely drove off. So, well, I can't be 100% sure it was him. I am, if you get what I mean. So I keep saying him a lot. So that's the first thing. The pointless garbage BBC. I mean, honestly, does anyone watch it? Everyone watches Netflix these days. It's a disgrace. You go watch Netflix and pay for it, yet you've still got to pay for a service you might never not be using. I mean, a service you might not be using. It's a bit like, to put in context, it's a bit like going to supermarket A because you like the food, but being forced to still pay for supermarket B, even though you find the service dreadful and the food awful, absolutely dreadful, and you've never been in your life. You're still forced to pay. I mean, that's the nonsense of it. I mean, it is a tax. Well, it's more than a tax. It's theft, really. I mean, it's legalised theft. I mean, this is why I think they're charging pensioners, because they know they'll pay it. Well, I think everyone else has cottoned on not to pay it. I suspect there's probably about 1 million people who haven't paid, decide to cancel. I mean, after all, most kids don't play computer games all day. So honestly, I don't know who watches this channels. And the last time I had a look, I was looking last night, and they have hundreds of radio stations. It's ridiculous. Which means they've got like presenters on them all. And I think probably mostly 24/7. I mean, their radio stations alone must cost a fortune. Now, I'll grant you, Radio 4 is probably worth having, because other stations don't provide it, but Radio 1, it's just your standard music station, which I've never listened to since, the 80s. And the others, well, no, I don't think I've ever listened to in my life. Awful they are. Commercial stations do a much better job. And there's classical music and all that. And if you go on digital, there's more and more. And it's disgraceful. Anyway, that's that little bit of rant over, because quite honestly, if you pay the licence fee, you're just, to me, daft. So it's just garbage. But if you're happy to feel, I mean, I know some people like this communist system, and especially those on the left, they think it's great paying tax. The left love tax. They're not bothered if they get nothing in return, they just feel good and they'll justify it. You know, if someone came along and said, I'll kick you in the face, regardless, yeah, and you're forced to pay £1,000, they'll justify it. Like, oh, it's marvellous system. Get booted in the face for £1,000, even if I don't want it. You get it regardless. Marvellous, they'll say. So anyway, that's the first part. The main bit is the Joe Brand thing. And before I go on, I actually think Joe Brand's a funny comedian. So I'm not anything against Joe Brand. But, and this is the big but, it was only a few weeks ago the BBC sacked Danny Baker for a tweet. Now, I actually don't think he did it because he was a racist, and there's several reasons why. Unlike the left, who like to see everyone as colour, you know, section, so they're the racists because that's all they see people as. I think Danny Baker didn't see her. I mean, she's white to me. I mean, I don't even if she was a racist, I can't see how you'd be bothered about Markle, because she looks whiter than me. So that confuses me anyway, but I'm not that bright, I guess. That'll be what the left will be saying, oh, you're a bit stupid. But, and I'll get, well, the reason I don't think Danny Baker did it, because he was, well, I think it would be a bit too, if you're a racist, don't think you'd be that obvious, and you'd stick up for it. And the first thing he did was delete it, and his explanation to me was fine. I mean, I was called a cheeky monkey as a kid, I think. And by the way, I was born in Zambia, so, ooh, was that a racist term? Nah, I don't believe so. And that was in the 70s. So, I mean, if someone called me a cheeky monkey, I'm not going to take offence, even though I was born in Africa, an African continent country, Zambia. So perhaps some people did. But what was interesting was, well, he deleted this tweet. I'm just walking past a bit of a stream, so people can hear me. Everybody took screen grabs and then reposted it. So you think if they were so offended, why would they repost it? You know, going, oh, look at this, I'm very offended. Look, this is what I'm offended by. Well, if someone sent me a link to say, and like I always say, I'm into animal rights and stuff, so any animal cruelty, anything devastates me, I won't want to look at it. And I mean, I always tell people, you might have noticed I've let two little rats free that my mate caught, because I can't even have, you know what I mean, some people are saying just kill them. Nah, I can't, you know, I'm not into, I couldn't think about harming anything like that. Now if someone sent me some animal cruelty things, I won't retweet it. I mean, I'd say it's sick, but there's no way I couldn't just do it. It'd just be too upsetting. So I don't understand why these people, if they're so offended, would be retweeting. I mean, I don't think they were offended. You know, I mean, because they even posted underneath, how come you're retweeting it if that's so offensive? And not one could ever answer that. Not one even bothered to reply and say that. And yet everybody was doing it. Oh, I'm so offended. Look, this is what I'm offended by. Well, you know, why are you suddenly different to Danny Baker? If it's offensive, why is it offensive only if Danny Baker posts it and not you? Oh, because you're on the left or something. I don't know. I'm sure you've got your reasons. But anyway, the BBC didn't defend the guy. They just sacked him. Now, you could have just told him off, suspended it, just done anything, just to show faith. But they didn't. They went ahead and said, well, that's it, bye. Okay, they're a private, well, let's say they're a private firm. I don't know technically what the legal position is. Hang on, sorry. Come here, you. Come. So I'm just shouting at the dogs. Come. I'm going to go through a tunnel, so it might echo. And the dogs who sometimes bark as well in here. So anyway, the BBC, as I presume they've got the right to, got rid of him within almost same day by the sounds of it. I mean, I don't know the legal ins and outs, but from what we gather, it wasn't very long. Now, of course, people defended him, and they put forward the valid reasons and said that we don't think he's a racist and we accept what he said as true. Because that's the question. I mean, in many ways, what you was challenging him on wasn't if he was a racist or not, if he was telling the truth or not. And you either believe him or don't. Now, I choose to believe him. Clearly, it backfired on him. But, you know, I don't think anyone's burning his house down as a racist. Or, I mean, to be honest, the reaction people have had against him doesn't seem to be somebody who's a racist. I've seen people, you know, I mean, if he were people thought he was a real racist, I think there'd have been a bigger backlash than what there was. It was just people sat on Twitter going, yeah, look at this, I'm offended. I'm offended, everyone. Oh, I'm a victim. Oh, join the club. I want to be part of the club. I want to be part of the I'm offended by Danny Baker club so I can look trendy and I can retweet it, and in my mind I'm changing the world. Oh, I don't really know if he is racist or not, but because other people say it, I'll go along with it. You know, I like to bully people. I'm a bully, really. But by doing this, I'll pretend I'm not. Because I'm on the left. We have to pretend we're nice, even though we're all the bullies. Yes. Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay, so they've got rid of Danny Baker. And, I mean, I've watched him for years and I've never seen him say anything racist. And it's the sort of humour he comes out with, to be fair. I mean, if you watched him and listened to him, what he posted there, calling a baby a cheeky monkey, well, that's the sort of thing he's always done, I'd argue. I don't think there's anything there. And like I say, I don't think he saw it as a race thing, which actually makes him a good person, does it not? Because he doesn't see people as colour. Well, all the left wing, they see people as colour. I mean, that's the irony of it all. Well, two ironies. One, they're reposting stuff that they think's offensive, pretending it's suddenly okay if they do it. And the second one is, let's say Annie Baker didn't see this kid as somebody of colour, just not a baby. You see, then that's the thing. And so what a lot on the left wanted, I heard is, oh, of course he must have seen him as a black baby. Why? Because they did. Because that would mean that all them left wing, especially the comedians, are racist because they can only view this kid as a black baby, because that's how they must see him. If you view this baby as a black baby, then you're a sort of racist, are you not? Because I didn't see it as a black baby. I wasn't even aware. Really, never even occurred to me myself. Anyway, I'm just going to be walking past some cars, so I might just stop a minute. Just got to grab one of the dogs. So that's now that's sorry. Get my breath. Oh God, the dogs have been a pain. Sorry, folks. Right, so now we come on to, I think it was like yesterday, I don't know when this occurrence happened. Joe Brand went on a BBC Radio 4 comedy show. I've got to listen to it. I did hear the extract, so that's why I'm quoting, talking about it, because I did hear that it was played today on the TV. So rather than talking about something I haven't heard, I have heard it. Just haven't heard the full show. Now, she went on to say something, a joke, if you call it a joke. I mean, normally she's very, very funny, and this wasn't really that funny, to be honest. It was just almost a statement rather than a joke. It was something about people using milkshakes, which was a pointless exercise. They should be using battery acid or something. And then she went on to say, I'm not saying use battery acid. Now, the BBC have defended her, but this is where we start getting messed up, because if you suddenly say, you see, it becomes one rule for one and one for another. How can Danny Baker post something and delete it and sack him, and then just defend her for that? Now the point being is, I don't think anyone should be sacked, but you can't do it both ways. If you sack Danny Baker, you've got no option in my mind to sack her, and that's why you mess up many times. Now, the context of it isn't that funny really, because one day someone's going to use acid, and to be honest, so I'll just walking past the car then. So right. Now the problem you've got is that in today's world, the left seem to think that violence is acceptable, and they joke about it. And they don't condemn it. Even when they tend to condemn it, it's like a woolly wussy, pathetic, but, and then they'll put in lots of buts and reasons, and but the other side are worse. But it seems to be acceptable to throw something in someone's face. This is the same time we're having acid attacks. So the first problem you've got is somebody's going to throw acid at some point in somebody's face, and they'll say I'm justified because they've been egged on, and they have in many ways. I mean, I've not really seen MPs, left-wing ones, condemn these actions. They're almost joking about it. Now, there's also a problem because at some stage someone's going to presume they've been attacked, even if it is just water or milkshake. In America, they'd just be shot on the spot, and why shouldn't they? I mean, if you think you're under attack, you've got the right to defend yourself, and here in England you've got the right to defend yourself. But the problem is going to be, how far does it go? I'm just walking uphill, I'm a bit out of breath. Because if, say, you threw something in my face and I punch you, am I going to be prosecuted? Supposing you drop down dead. Now, to be perfectly honest, I'll say this publicly. If you throw something in my face and I react by defending myself, by putting my hand out, because I don't know what it is you've thrown in my face. I mean, I've got my dogs, I could have my family, could have my friends, I have to defend them. You know, I haven't asked you to throw anything in my face. I don't even know you, you just come up to me. So if I react, or one of my friends reacts, and defend themselves by a single blow, and you drop down dead, or perhaps they might even have a knife on them and stab you, and you die. Quite honestly, tough. I don't know what the legal position is, but I'm afraid if this ever happens and somebody who's thrown something on somebody else ends up dead, I have no sympathy for that person, none. And I can see that happening because it's assault, and you shouldn't be. I mean, one of the ironies is the left quite rightly condemn women being abused and assaulted sexually and not sexual, you know, in the streets, on Twitter, and yet they condone, if not encourage, you to go up to certain people and assault them. And that's the contradiction of the left. Again, that's why they're full of shit, basically. Certain people in their minds are targets to be assaulted, while others we have to be upset by. That becomes, to me, well, it does, it's just a farce. So You know, that's why that joke, which perhaps if it was funny, because I mean they were questioning it on today. I was listening, and they were trying to justify her over someone else, saying, well, she's a comedian or whatever. Hang on. Oh dear. Oh dear. That's it. Shush! Right, we're back, folks. I was just chatting to somebody then. They were wanting directions to the shops. Oh god, I'm covered in mud from the dogs. I hope it's recorded and turned off. Anyway, I've forgotten where I was up to. Okay, right, so my first point there was you've got to be careful. I mean, I'm a believer that anything can be a joke. And you see, this is where we get a bit messed up, because it's one thing. I mean, if the Radio 4 now, most of it seems to be quite left wing, and it's not that funny really. I wouldn't mind if it was comedy. It's not like in the 80s and 90s when you had a lot of very, very funny left wing comedians. Nowadays it's just saying lines, and when I say lines, it's throw acid in someone's face. I mean, they're not even jokes anymore, they're just comments. So and so's a racist, so and so's a Nazi. I mean, they've stopped telling jokes, but everybody seems to applaud them, probably out of fear that they don't want to be seen as some sort of Nazi. You've got to go along with this now. So I mean, for anyone outside or doesn't the UK or doesn't listen to Radio 4, it's a good station, but things that they have, like the news quiz, which is basically pure left wing and purely not even comedy anymore. It's usually just comments about this person, that person being a scumbag, rather than any sort of practical jokes. But anyway, oh dear, sorry. Now this is where things get a problem, because in the past, in the UK, we've had that Count Dracula, whatever they call him, chap, who posted a video of his dog doing a Nazi salute, and he's got into trouble. I think he's been charged. I'm not sure if he's facing prison or whatever. It's nonsense for a joke. So what? I mean, this is the argument has been, oh, we don't think he's a comedian, so therefore it's racist. Well, you know, a lot of people find him a comedian. There was also the other chap who's from UKIP, who posted ages ago that he wouldn't, and that's the question, wouldn't rate Jess Phillips. Now, the joke wasn't funny really, but it's a joke. Everybody knew it's a joke, and I was then basically defending him. I mean, I'm not for everyone knows that I'm certainly not a UKIP supporter. I mean, I'm a Remainer, so that ain't gonna happen. But I watched his vids. He's actually a smart, intelligent guy, and it's worth listening to, even if you don't agree with him. You might agree on some things. I expect you won't on everything, but he makes some valid points. Oh, by the way, I always say listen to people you don't agree with, because one of the things you ever listen to these protesters. Shush! Shush! Shut up, Sandy! Shut up! Shut up! Oh, shut up! Be careful you don't knock people over. Sorry. Sorry, just someone else walking past. Now, let me just go back. Forget where I was there. One of the things I heard, and I agree with them, is you should always listen to people you disagree with. Even if you might agree with some of the points, you might not, but not listening to them doesn't make you smart, it makes you stupid. And when I was listening to one of the protests, the chap who said that joke about Jess Phillips, he'd asked people if they've ever watched his videos and listened to the joke he said, And they sound there, and then his point was, well, why are you complaining against me? You don't know what I'm talking about. But somebody said it. And that's the trouble. They all made themselves look utterly stupid because they were stood there trying to look very clever, very left wing, very right on about something they had no idea about. I mean, it's stupid. And it's actually disgusting, actually. I mean, if you're going to complain about something, fine, but know what you're complaining about, because if you don't, you have no right to complain, you have no right to protest. Anyway, but this is where the trouble, because it starts, the debate ended up being, should you make jokes about rape? Well, a lot of people suggest there's no subject you don't make a joke about. And the other one was, oh, can he make a joke because he's not officially a comedian? When apparently people are sort of going around saying, well, so and so's a comedian, but this person isn't, and that's where you get into a mess, because it's apparently now you have to be a comedian to make a joke or something. I don't know, but you see, this is the trouble. Those on the extreme left don't even know their own rules. They just go, it's a gut instinct to say, I think it's wrong, thus it is wrong, thus I don't need to reason it, there must be a reason, I'll leave the reason to someone else. And often whenever you debate anything, they'll say, oh, go look on Google. That's the thicko answer. If you ever reply, look at Google or go look it up, you're a moron. But I've had that before, I just laugh at them about anything. I mean, that's the typical thicky answer. But look it up. I'm too stupid to know the answer. I'm sure it is. I mean, you see them on the videos where they'll look around because they realise that they're looking stupid, and they're hoping someone else will defend them and come out with the answer. And normally everyone else suddenly starts walking backwards and looking the other way, and then suddenly they're on their own, and then you panic. Then, oh no, they go, I'm looking an idiot. Oh, don't you dare put this on YouTube, I don't want to look a fool. Yes, you are a fool. I mean, it's happened so often, you think some of these people would now turn up with the actual answers and evidence, so they don't look stupid. But anyway, if they want to look like morons and say, oh, I don't know, look it up, oh, it must be true. Oh, my friend told me, so it's true. No, I didn't listen to your videos. So, this is the final part why the BBC have messed up. Because now we're in a position where every joke will have to be censored. In reality, you've got to check every joke out. In the past, the BBC was almost famous for putting out comedy that challenged everything. For instance, at the time I'd say The Young Ones, probably the most offensive comedy ever made, and then I think they did Bottom, and these incredibly, I mean, I don't think they'd be made now. I certainly wouldn't. And I would say that most of the writers were probably left wing as well, which is the irony. But this is the reality. You know, it's unlikely because they'll be too scared to offend anyone. You can't have any comedy because everything will have to be censored in case it offends somebody. And so you don't have comedy. Once you start going down that line, you've no longer comedy, which means basically the BBC, unless something drastically changes, can never really do any comedy except something that is basically so politically correct, even children would find it dull. You know, it's a sort of non-comedy. I'll give you an example. There was the film, well, no, I'll go give a BBC example. So I saw it at my friend's and I couldn't believe how bad it was. They had something called Ghost or something, and it was full of talent. So you had some great talent in it, and God, was it dull. I mean, it was just so bland. I mean, we just turned it off after 5 minutes. We just couldn't be bothered with it. And yet the left went on Twitter saying, "Oh, it's wonderful. Wasn't it funny?" Oh, I laughed and laughed and laughed. I thought, you're lying. Nobody, unless you're mentally ill, would have laughed at that. You'd have to be deranged. It wasn't funny. I mean, it's a bit like Ghostbusters. That should have been hysterical, the new one. Full of talent, just ended up producing the most blandest. Oh, it's just awful. I mean, it'd have been so easy to make that into something brilliant. But they made it bland to fulfill this left wing. Oh, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, that just demonstrates how bad left wing comedy's got. And by the way, when I say left wing, I'm not saying I'm on the right. Christ, if I voted, it'd be for the Green Party, so I'm hardly some sort of right winger. But these days, everyone's right wing, aren't they? They don't go along with this garbage. Thing is, I'm not interested in it because I find it offensive. I'm offended by this left-wing garbage because it's just so hideously bland, and it's censorship, and it's close to racism, because they see the left-wing see everybody as not as people, but they see them as coloured, lesbian, gay. Everyone's in a bracket. And that's the trouble, that's the irony of the left. Whenever you see them demonstrating, they're not multicultural, sorry. They tend to be mainly white, middle class, and that's it. Whenever you see them demonstrations about the with anti-racism or whatever it was, there was an organisation, they were mainly white. I think once or twice you saw somebody who wasn't, but they were all middle class, you know, and that was the thing. They were just bored people, just stood there. They didn't really have a clue. They didn't want to negotiate or chat to anybody. They couldn't. They had no ideas. They just wanted to be on Instagram, look like they're doing the right thing, and they did. They even took credit. They did absolutely nothing. Stood there with their silly little placards, and if anyone went up to them, they ran off. And you see this in America as well. Whenever anyone goes up to them, often they'll just won't speak because they look stupid, because they don't really have any ideas. They just want to be on Instagram. They're Instagram protesters. They don't have really any values. You know, if Instagram didn't exist, none of these people would be there. I mean, if Twitter you couldn't post pictures to Twitter or any of these things, they wouldn't be there. They just want to be seen. So they look like they're great, and they want to tell each other how wonderful they are. That's all they're interested in. How wonderful. I'm wonderful, you're wonderful. And they do. I read it on Twitter all the time. They don't mind. They say, salt so-and-so, but we're the kind people. And everyone else is right-wing Nazis, which they're not. Anyway, that's my little rant, because I'm coming to the road, so I don't know if this is recorded. Okay. Din din din. Been in my pocket. Looks like it's recorded. Might be clipping off, whatever they call it. I might have set this too high, the volume.